Dawn Staley held her ground with regards to her views and the words she said about those who need to believe in God. So much so that even after being told to apologize and winning the championship, she still doubled down and professed her faith in God and given glory to God. But despite all this, they still got her. They still got her. So before we get into that, guys, my name is Ruslan. This channel exists to encourage, empower, and inspire you to live a life that blesses God. If you're new here or if you're not new here, please take a look and make sure you hit that subscribe button, as a huge percentage of the people that watch this channel, unfortunately, are not subscribed. All right, let's get into the video. First of all, let's just give props where props is due. Dawn Staley asked to apologize for comments about God. So let's see what she was asked to apologize for.
It's really hard to be where we are. I'm super proud of them. I'm giving all the glory to God, though. God is really, he's really funny. He's really funny. The devastating loss that we had last year to put us back here with a totally different team. If you don't believe in God, something's wrong with you. Seriously.
Something wrong with you, seriously. So props to her, man. Something's wrong with you, seriously. That's a pretty big statement to say after winning. Now, by the way, the fact that she's been able to help make women's basketball the slightest interesting, I think that's a huge accomplishment in and of itself. So her then win and give praise to God, that's awesome. Okay, so let's keep going. So then I basically asked her, like, do you know, were you wrong? This was her response.
And when you really can't explain why like great things happen to you, some people can say, oh, it's my hard work. Well, everybody works hard, okay? I know personally what God has done for me. I know personally. And, you know, here's the thing. I said, if you don't know there's a God, then something's wrong with you. If I said, if you don't watch women's basketball, something seriously wrong with you, would you take it as threatening?
I would. Okay, I would take it as threatening. Okay, because I don't think there's anything wrong with me for not being entertained by women's basketball. Okay, now she is right that if she were to make that statement, it would be way more controversial.
Way less controversial.
Wait, excuse me. If she had made that statement, it would be way less controversial. The same people who dragged her for the first statement wouldn't have an issue with her saying, if you ain't watching women's basketball right now, there's something seriously wrong with you. No one would have an issue with that, except people that really care about basketball. We'd be like, stop it. Stop it. I just saw LeBron and the Clippers play, and let me tell you, James Harden, that's a whole nother level, all right? So, and she makes a great point about everyone works hard. It's not about who works hard. Everyone works hard. And she feels like God is in the midst of this. So, okay, respect. God's in the midst of this to her. That's awesome. She's making these bold professions.
As somebody took the other one, I mean, it's a figure of speech. If you can't comprehend that, then tune me out. Like, tune me out, because I'm not here to offend anybody. I'm not here. That is not my makeup. That's not my character. So if you're just tuning in for one interview and you probably heard it from somebody else and it's hearsay, then you can have your take on it. I'm not apologizing when...
That's a W. That's a W. She said, I'm not apologizing. She's standing 10 toes down, but they got her anyway. They got her anyway. Okay, and then we're going to go over how they got her in a second. But this is what happened after she wins the championship.
Coach, you're one of the toughest to ever come out of Philly. We don't see these tears from you often.
We think this is America's Got Talent with that this American Idol celebration.
It's a big deal for them, man.
We serve an unbelievable God. Uncommon favor.
Uncommon favor. So, you know, props to her for not being bullied into minimizing her thoughts on God. I think that's awesome. We got to give props where props is due.
But
they got her a different way. You are going to witness, unfortunately, and again, all props to her. If she's watching this, you can come on. We can have a conversation in person. You can call in. But what she says next, I think that same night, I believe in the same press conference, is the most egregious thing any women's coach has ever said. Either they got her with the psyop and she really believes what she says, or she is so afraid of the potential backlash that she's willing to take a L like we're about to witness.
If you're a woman, you should play. If you consider yourself a woman and you want to play sports or vice versa, you should be able to play.
Do you think transgender women should be able to participate?
That's your question you
college
want me to
basketball?
ask. I mean, you want to ask, so I'll give you that. Yes. Yes. So now the barnstorm of people are going to flood my timeline and be a distraction to me on one of the biggest days of our game. And I'm okay with that.
You mean to tell me a woman athlete who is a basketball coach of women's sports is okay with biologically born men competing against biologically born women in basketball? You mean to tell me that she really believes, she really believes that this is a good idea? Some have rightfully pointed out that she is a part of the LGBT community, so she knows she has to maintain her political connects. There's a lot of LGBT people that don't agree with this. Even the subsequent CNN coverage of this, fast forward a little bit, where this lady comes on, they're minimizing it because they think it's about the numbers. There's 500,000 people who play in the NCAA, and only 40 of them are openly transgender. So this isn't as big of an issue, and they were trying to get her woulda gotcha moment. And they were, by the way. And she fell right for it. Because now it looks like she was cornered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the issue of the number of people competing. It's the issue of the mentality and the brain rot and the brain virus that there is no difference between biologically born males who have transitioned and biologically born females. It's the principle that they're okay with this. But even in CNN's coverage, which, by the way, look at how much they got ratio. You see that?
That's great.
Even in this coverage, the panel here concedes that this is a bad take. That this is a non. Even they concede, yeah, this is a nonsensical position. Like this is because yes, it's not that many people, but let's not pretend like it's the same thing.
Well, on the right, they know their names. They know Riley Gaines. These people have become important sort of avatars for this culture war. And look, the right loves to be professionally outraged. And in this moment, they've got a hat trick, a trifecta. They have a black woman supporting transgender rights. I mean, this was red meat for the far right, who will go to cartoonish lengths and probably some bigoted lengths.
Bigoted, cartoonish, trifecta. But listen to what she goes. So she says all the buzzwords.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But listen to what she goes on to concede next. Go ahead.
Address her. However, let me just state for the record, this is not a popular issue for the left. 70% of Americans do not believe biological men should be competing against biological women.
You don't say. I wonder why. I wonder why liberals don't agree with this.
The first time I ever heard the word biological come out of them on CNN. Jeez Louise. Like, oh, now you're acknowledging that there's biological men.
Now there's biology.
Yeah.
That includes Democrats. 70% of American voters are not all bigoted. There's a sense that this is deeply unfair to girls.
You notice how they're working it out for themselves? They're solving it themselves.
Wow, someone can have a position that we would call anti-trans, but then actually not be bigoted? Of course, only the Democrats that don't believe biological men should play against biological women are not bigoted, but the right, they're bigoted.
They're definitely bigoted.
Yeah, they're bigoted. But she just did it.
Yeah.
They can disagree and not be bigoted.
Right. Absolutely.
Because now it included her party, her group.
Because her group thinks it. Yeah. So I wonder if they would budge the same way on the unborn. Like if 70% of the country thought the unborn was bad, would they be like, okay, you're not a woman hater if you think there should be restrictions?
Oh, 100% they would.
Both ways. And in fact, the issue has gotten less popular as the years have gone on, not more popular, even among Democrats. So, of course, the right's going to seize
did
on
you hear
this.
what she said? She said the position that women should be allowed to compete against biologically born men, people have gotten more angry against that. It's less popular. It's like they're solving it for themselves. They're figuring this out as they go. This is incredible. Go ahead.
As you say, make a big deal of some anecdotal incidents. They're going to seize on it, but they're going to be with the popular view, the majority opinion on this issue.
So the
She's flustered here. Let this play. We got another.
NAIA has done this. Do you think the NCAA follows?
No, I think the NAIA is playing a different game. One thing to remember is that a disproportionate number of those schools are religious. Of the 20 presidents on the board,
it's the religious people. So if you guys don't know, the NIA, which is a different collection of teams, has banned biologically born men competing against biologically born women. They've banned it. And so that she asks him, do you think it's going to follow in the NCAA? I think if the NCAA had any wisdom about them, they would. But he goes straight to it's predominantly religious schools.
Yeah.
Right.
It's predominantly Don Staley's that are religious and believe in God. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, no. I see what you're saying.
Like it's like, well, you have to remember that it's people that believe in God. It's like, the person you're covering right now
It believes in God. Yeah, go ahead.
This 17 of them were with schools that were affiliated with some Christian church. So there's, we got a selection bias that goes on there. It's a loser of an issue for the NCAA because now this is the most empowered class of athletes that we have ever had before because now a lot of them get money. This doesn't go through quietly, I don't think, if they decide to do this. So is the NCAA going to do anything about this? No. But everybody else has to ask themselves, because you're right.
He's just saying stuff. Like, what does these athletes being empowered have anything to do with if the NCAA should ban men competing in women's sport? He's just saying stuff.
He's securing his spot on the next CNN.
He's just random facts that sound semi-real. Okay, so they're the most. What does that have to do with anything?
This is a huge issue for the left. It's wildly unpopular.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter at all in real life for what it is that we're talking about. Like, we're all kind of.
I bet you women who compete against those 40 men, I bet you it matters to them. I bet you it matters to them a whole lot.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't matter until those 40 men competing against women are champions. It's like, yeah, it's such a small portion of the pie compared to how many athletes are actually in the NCAA.
Right.
But when those are skyrocketing to the top because of their physical ability, it starts to matter.
Absolutely.
It's not like they're the bottom percentage like Leah Thomas before.
Well, she was the bottom in the men's and then became the
410
top,
or something like that. Yeah.
Getting played with the level of elevation that we give.
Just to underscore what you're saying here, and I get you to respond to this. I mean, the question is, if you're talking about 40 athletes, is this really an issue of lack of unfairness writ large for the rest of the 500,000?
No, I think for the women on these teams or these women competing against these trans athletes, it's a big deal to them, but it's a very small minority. But that really actually doesn't matter. The fact is, this is a political issue. The right's going to overplay it, because that's what they do, and drum up fear and fan the flames, because that's what they do. And the left is going to, in some cases, I think, push it too far, because that's sometimes what they do. And here
you don't say.
Amazing.
You don't say. So, again, with all these issues, I don't think people understand the difference between how many people it's affecting and it can affect, and how many people and the principle, and then what happens when you flesh that principle out. So I'll give you guys a very practical thing. People talk about in terms of baby deletion, right? Which I think is just as awful, if not more awful. The rates at which third trimester deletion of a baby happens are very low. But when you pull those numbers out, it's like tens of thousands of deletions. So the third trimester, we're talking
survivable babies.
And in principle, not in practice, the deletion of babies in the third trimester is an egregious, disgusting position. Having said that, even if it is 1%, that's still like tens of thousands annually. That's a lot.
It's not nothing.
That's not nothing. That's like hundreds daily.
It's like taking a hammer into the NICU.
Right. And so I think people don't understand that, like, it's not, oh, it's just a small minority of positions. Flesh these numbers out. Okay, 40 athletes. How many of those athletes did they impact? So what the issue is, we go, man, you guys are so off base with this stuff. On a national level, like on a national level, we go, you guys are just the mind virus is so bad that you don't understand that the issue is the principle and how willing you are to jump out the window for the most dumb, egregious positions. Right? Play the rest of this. If there's anything else they say here, it's good.
Are using a valuable time talking about this issue on,
but I think
when there's a lot of other things going on.
But the left does have a tricky thing on this, which is, on its face, it's not a ridiculous idea, right?
What?
Like, the idea, if you say on its face, this person is a biological male competing against women. We have separations of gender in sport for a reason. I guess it's really a separation of sex, but everybody can grasp that reason. So when you come in and say this is unfair, regardless of how little it happens or whatever, you are going to have to explain to people why it is not unfair, why this isn't that big of a deal.
Which
and that's
they
something
can't.
you have to figure out, because the hypothesis that you start with isn't crazy.
There's no figuring
it's
it
just
out.
crazy people who tend to bring it up all the time.
All the more reason why.
The hypothesis isn't crazy. It's just crazy people that bring it up all the time. Or it is crazy and it's inexplainable, and therefore you come off like a crazy man advocating for, we're cool with biologically born men competing against women. According to the Bible, that prayer is extremely important in terms of us being transformed from the inside out when we get aligned with God's will. For the Christians watching this channel, I want you guys to implement these spiritual disciplines in your day-to-day life. And the only way I've been able to do this consistently is through writing down my prayers in a prayer journal that does a few things. One, it allows me to reflect and come to God humbly and ask him to move on my behalf. And two, it allows me to document my prayers, which ultimately help me remember the very things that I was praying for and see the hand of God tangibly in my life when he answers them. So I would urge you, consider writing down your prayers. It could be in a blank notebook. It could even be on your phone. Or you could check out the one I personally designed and used from my own quiet time and spiritual discipline that I think will be a huge blessing. It's the exact structure and system that I've used for years to pray and be more consistent in my spiritual disciplines. You can pick yours up today by clicking the link in the pinned comment below. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.